Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. It's about 8:15 in the morning here, Eastern time. It's Thursday, right? Thursday? Boy, the days just keep flying on by. It's a short trading week here in the stock market, and we had NVDA earnings last night. And I want to just talk a little bit about what the chart suggests, and I also want to go back to May 24th, 2023, just to kind of rehash where the stock has been and where it could potentially go in the future. Before I get into all of this, as you all know, it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing your own risk, doing your own research, and I'm just giving my opinion on the market. So, of course, if you would like to have access to our Discord server, you can get all that information on BitDoctor.org, where you can get access to our indicators, you can get access to education, trades, and all that good stuff. But let's go ahead and go to the reason why we're all here, which is NVIDIA. And again, I mentioned that I wanted to go back to May 24th, 2023. And you might be asking yourself, what's the significance of May 24th, 2023? That is the day where I was talking about NVIDIA going back to all-time highs. This was, again, May 24th, 2023, when NVIDIA was sitting at about $192. And what was significant about that day and the day prior is that we had a very clear view that we had an inverted head and shoulders here. Very clear. And we also had a breakout. So you can see this trend line that I've got here, which created my neckline, right? We had a low here, we had a lower low, and then it was mixed with a higher low on the right shoulder. And then we had a breakout. And when you're trading an inverted head and shoulders, you typically are supposed to wait for the breakout, set your stop loss about halfway down where you've got the right shoulder, and you want to target for 100% the length of the head to the neck, and measure that. And that target was about $336 at the time. And of course, if I hit the play button, you'll see here we hit that target pretty fast. We trended up into earnings, and then we had a big gap up to, again, about $390, okay? So that happened. Now, what I want to point out is the fact that fear and greed fuels markets, and it has. What I will say is right now we are in an extreme greed phase on NVIDIA, but there's no telling on how long that will take. But what we had back here is the fact that there was a lot of fear in the market. And if you go and take a look at some of the comments on here, we were at what did I say? When we were on here, it was about $192, right? The first comment, more like $80, good luck. We're not going to see to the moon all-time high for the next 2 years. That's fine. People are entitled to their own opinion. Lots of other people were talking, do you have any idea how big the NVIDIA bubble is? People saying that, this is not going to happen, talking about fundamentals. NVIDIA just reported 260% growth year over year on their revenue. That's pretty solid fundamentals, I've got to say. All these people are talking about, how this is not possible. A lot of people talking about hopes and things like that. I was looking at this not even based on fundamentals. This was a posting simply based off of chart patterns. So now that this has already come and gone, where are the highs going to be? Okay, so if we go and take a look here on the daily on NVIDIA, and this is the current chart, you can see this is where that head and shoulders was, and I removed the neckline, but the neckline was basically right here. Okay, and I posted at about $192, which was right here. This is the area where I was posting that idea on TradingView. So just to give some perspective on that, the price has gone up 295% since then on a $192 stock. All right. So now that we are here, right, let's just take a look and see where this channel is coming from, because I think this channel is important. All right. So we've got, a pullback here. We created a bottom here. We've got two bottoms here, right? Then we've got a top here. We've got a top here. So we've got two bottoms, two tops. This makes a lot of sense so far. But then we had another bottom right here, and we are right on track to continue moving to the top of this, the top of the channel, which right now it's at about $953 if you go out to April. The longer you go, the higher that target becomes. And I'm going to talk about this impulsive move here in just a moment. But what I want to do is I want to go out to the weekly, because I want to see more of this chart and just to kind of talk about the fact that this could expand, right? It depends on what kind of a bubble we are in, but something that I will point out, and this is pretty important to point out. If you expand this to the upside, like I just did here, what ends up happening? So let me just expand this out and just zoom in just a little bit more on the price action here. The median of the expansion, which is a 50% expansion off of the channel, we talk about expansions all the time, that 50% is right where the previous high was. This is important. And the reason why this is important is if this price action goes above this trend line, this one up here, right? So let me just go ahead and mark this. If we break above that trend line right there, and I'm going to mark that with green, if we go above that right there, probabilities suggest that we're probably more likely to go and to tap this trend line right here, which is the median. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's likely that NVIDIA goes to $2,000, because I don't think that that's a fair market value of NVIDIA. But what I also won't say is that it's not possible, because when we were down here at 192, a lot of people were like, yeah, this is an overvalued stock, and it's more likely the fair value is at 150. And I had one guy that was like, yeah, the fair market value is like $50, which is, where the price action was all the way back here in 2018, 2019, and going into 2020. But now that we're up here and NVIDIA is looking like it's going to be opening at all-time high, we're at about $761 right now, it looks like we're at least going to go and tap this upper trend line that we've got here on our initial channel. Now, not the expansion channel, but this, the primary channel that we've got, which is composed of, let's go ahead and just, mark this again. Let me get a different marker for this. We're going to get our up arrow marker. We've got this low here, this low here, we've got this low here. And then mixing that with the highs, right, of the channel, we've got this tap here, and we're trying to work out, where we're going to land up here. But I also, again, I can't ignore the 50% range expansion to the upside back here that we hit in January of 2011. So let's go to the daily and focus on the price action over the last roughly year and a half, okay? So just taking a look at this, and I'm going to squat this down just a little bit. We're going to do some measurements, which is what we should do when we're trying to determine where a top could be. And something I want to really focus on here, when we're trying to figure out where a top is, that's not necessarily an area where you should be shorting, right? Maybe covered calls. We have already found that that's a little sketchy because of the exponential increase that NVIDIA has had. But you can already see I've got a little bit of a count on here, and it's very possible that we do see continued upside up to roughly about $1,000, and I want to talk about why I believe that. Okay. So when you're trying to look at an Elliott wave count, what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out where's the impulsive moves. And I think it's pretty clear that we've got some moves here. Let me pull my tools over here, right? So from down here, we've got a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up there into our first wave. So this is going to be, of course, on a lower degree. Okay, and then from here we've got this correction, right? And if you wanted to count this as an A, B, C expanded flat, you know, more power to you. There's Elliott wave is extremely subjective, and you can find 11 different counts for the same chart pattern. So I'm not going to get into too much of the technicalities of what this could be as far as a correction goes. I can see a little ABC here, and that's good enough for me. One way or another, a big move up that looks impulsive and a corrective move down that looks corrective. Okay, so we've got that. Let's measure that. Okay, so we've got this bottom here and this top here, and we've got this pullback right roughly here. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's go ahead and one more time, let's try and get a count on what this pattern looks like from this wave 2 to this wave 3. And again, this is just rough, but what I would expect is wave 3 on a 1-2, wave 3 should go to the 1618 at least. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to stop there. I mean, look, it just gapped right through it, okay? So it doesn't mean it has to stop there. It just means that we really want it to get there, and it did. That doesn't mean that you have to go to the 2618, right? But it has to really extend past that 1618 really to be counted as an impulsive wave 3. So we've got a 1, 2, and I'm going to count this as a 3, 4, and then we got wave 5 here. Now, this admittedly doesn't look super clean. It could be that this 3 goes here, this 4 goes here, which means we've got basically a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 5 right here. That probably works a little bit better, but one way or another, we've got a third wave that looks like it completed here. And not only that, but what I'm looking at here, let me get my degree right here. So from here, very clear, we have a good correction here. I'm going to get that same wave structure there. It's very clear that this looks extremely corrective into a wave 4. Okay, so now what we would be looking for is we'd be looking for a wave 5. Okay, now we've got this wave 3 right here. We've got a nice correction here into a wave 4. Now, the 2618 is likely not where it would stop because we far surpassed the 1618 for our wave 3, which is right here. And so now we would really expect it to go, you know, maybe even all the way up to the 3618. Now, the 3618 is at $1,030. That is important. Let's go ahead and keep that in mind, $1,028.80. And I'm going to go ahead and clear out all of these guys, the 1618, the 1236. I'll keep the 2618, the 3618, and the 4618 on there for right now. Again, we're just measuring. And that 4618, for the record, is at $1,700, almost $1,800. So that is sitting up there. So the other thing that we're going to measure is we're going to measure the bottom of wave 2 to the top of wave 3, which is right there. All right, so we didn't correct to the 382. And did we get to the 236? We didn't even get to the 236, and this is on log scale. If I put this on linear scale, we've got the 236, which is, you know, being counted as support. So I'm on log scale on the chart, but changing the fib pulls to linear scale, it does show that we've got some support here at the 236. We couldn't get to that 382, so this has a bullish structure. I was including this area right here as resistance, right? So the area that we're at right now is above that resistance, which that's what happened here. This was the previous resistance. And yeah, we had some, you know, some clustering right here. I use that term a lot when we get to an area of resistance and we start just grinding away. You know, once we got above that, we gapped up, right? So we are just, I wouldn't say this is the same kind of grind, but this was our resistance. And I'm telling you, if we start closing daily and especially weekly candles above this, well, this is going to quickly turn into support again, okay? Just like we had back here, this is going to turn into support just like it did over here, right? So this is, I'm going to put a question mark here because we don't really have a confirmation that we've got a bullish breakout and that we're going to continue to gap and go, right? I have two terms here. This is the redneck version of me coming out. We're either going to gap and go or we're going to gap and crap. It's going to be one of the two, and we're going to find out over the next 2 days. So today and tomorrow, we're really going to find out what the market wants. And you know, the trend, if you're blind, the trend is up. We will hit resistance at some point, but I don't see any technical reason here that we're going to completely fall. Now, if we get back below 665 or so, that would increase the probability that we've topped out, right? We could have this little 1, 2 here, 3, 4, and then a little wave 5, and then we start to correct. That would be ideal. I think the market really needs a little bit of a breather. I think that there is a lot of, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of greed in the market. So I would be very cautious of that. But if we keep going, right, that next target is going to be wherever this channel trend line is, this upper rail of this trend line is going to be likely where that next stop is going to be. And right now it's looking to be around $900 in the immediate term. We're talking within the next, 2-3 weeks. We're looking at like $900. Longer you go, the higher that gets. But if we break above this, we're really going to be looking at this guy up here, which again, this is all the way up at like $1,700, $1,800, $1,900. That seems a little crazy, but is it? Okay, so there's another measurement that a lot of Elliotticians use, a lot of people that are interested in market geometry, like I am, and you should already be familiar with my style of trading. I do enjoy good geometry here. I'm going to take this dominant pivot low. I'm going to go to the top of where my projected wave 3 is, and I'm going to get my pullback to where wave 4 is, right here. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm measuring the bottom of wave 1 to the top of wave 3, projecting it from the bottom of wave 4. This is a very, very common unit of measurement for Elliott wave traders. I'm going to put the 0.618 on there. Okay? So this in particular, again, 1 to wave 3 projected from wave 4, and where you will see this notated by, let me go ahead and do 1 tilde 3 equals 61.8%. Okay, so this is the type of thing that you will see on charts if somebody is using this unit of measurement. Wave 1 to wave 3 equals 61.8% of that move, right? We're using projective tools, right? There's not many indicators or tools out there that are forward looking. Most indicators are based off of what has already happened to help and give you an idea of what might continue. But what we've got here, the trend-based fib extension tool, we can use that to predict where the market might go, right? So it's a forward-looking tool, and right now that's sitting at about 1,013. So wave 1 to wave 3, at about 61.8% of that move is at about $1,013.97, which you will notice is very, very close to where we've got our 3618 of the first move, which is at $1,028.80. So this is our next resistance, just in case you haven't already gathered that. The next resistance is going to be sitting right here. So let's go ahead and put that on this chart. We're going to use this little area right here as our next set of resistance. So let's go ahead and just put some text on that. This is going to be our next resistance. And if you haven't already gathered, I had this as resistance initially. We broke through that. It became support. And we had this as resistance. And we look like we want to just obliterate that support and just move right through and move to that next area of resistance, which is going to be up here. So two things before I close this video out. Two things. One, if we go and, let me get my path tool here. If we go up, right, we're already right here, but if we go straight up here, and I would say before the end of March, if that happens, we're likely going to retest this and move on up over time, and it probably will look more like this to where that median is, right? It would probably look a little bit more like this still before the end of March. If we get up here to that 1013, 1030 area above 1,000, if we get up there before the end of March, chances are pretty good we're going to see a pullback, and it's just going to keep on going because now we're looking at a range expansion scenario. If the chart ends up looking a little bit like this, and I'm going to have to change the color of this when I'm done, right? We're up here. Maybe we just keep on moving sideways. Maybe we make a little bit of a lower low here, but then we start to see, you know, a nice move up and out of here. If we start to see something like this, chances are pretty good that's going to be our bearish scenario on NVIDIA, right? And it's had an impressive run. There's no doubt about that. What the charts do suggest right now is that we do have some more upside in the future when we're talking, you know, going into the end of the year, right? There is some more upside ahead. So, you know, this is our best case scenario is this red, our red projection where we do see a bigger pullback before a move up to about 1,000, right? But if we hit that 1,000 mark and we break it, if that happens before the end of March, chances are pretty good we're going to see an expansion scenario. And this is, you know, more than likely what can happen. If we see an expansion, we would see NVIDIA basically up at about $2,100, you know, and it could happen by, July, if that were to happen. Now, that's not to say that you should go out and buy, you know, the 1,500 strike on NVIDIA saying that this is going to go to 2,000 by July. That would be reckless. But the momentum does suggest that we do still have some upside. And ideally, we would see a little bit of a correction here, even after earnings, right? We already had basically a gap and go on earnings last time. And, you know, to have that again, you know, we really need to have a little bit of a pullback so even institutions can refill. Because you've got a lot of people out there that are waiting for this thing to have a more significant pullback so they can buy more of the stock and see that continued move to the upside. So this is my thought on NVIDIA. I would say at least we're going to see $1,000 by the end of the year. If we break up above $1,000 within the next month, we're going to go to 2,000 by the end of the year. Those are my current thoughts, my current hypothesis on NVIDIA. So, you know, if this helped you in any way, shape, or form, you know, like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you've got anybody out there that's interested in trading NVIDIA in the future or even in the near term, you know, refer them over to BitDoctor.org and let me know that, you know, that you sent them, and we can, you know, work out a referral bonus there. But at the end of the day, NVIDIA does look very overbought, but the chart itself would suggest that there is still more upside in the coming, you know, 6 to 7 months. So it does suggest that we could see some upside. Do I want to see a correction? Yes, I do. I want to see us come all the way back down here to 600 before we see this move up here. This would be healthier, right? But this is a bubble, right? It's, you know, we've already talked about where it's at from where we were talking about this at 192, and you know, that upside target is still going to continue to sit there and haunt us if we do break up above that trend line on the channel. So we've got those things that we can use to make a prediction on where it can go if we continue this bullish momentum. Okay, all right. As I mentioned before, if this video helped you in any way, shape, or form, like, subscribe, share. If you need access to our Discord, you can find that information on bitdoctor.org, where you get access to education, Elliott wave trading, trade ideas, equity, options. We've got spreads. We do dabble a little bit in futures, on and off. I'm kind of a little off on futures at the moment, but if the market is right, I will get back into futures. And yeah, last but not least, wherever you are in the world, I hope you're having a good day, a good night, and a great evening. Take care, everyone.